This video will demonstrate methods of using the rotate and scale tool combined with layers as a methodology for creating graphics. So this is a shape that we've live traced, and we're going to use this as the basis for our exploration of graphic shapes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the layer. So over on the right hand side I'm going to click the option here and we're going to go duplicate layer. Okay, so it's called that layer 1 copy. So let's call this original artwork. Okay, and we can call this logo 1. Okay, right. You'll see in the layers palette there's an eye that describes whether you can see the contents of the layer, and then there's an empty square next to it that describes or gives you the option of toggling to lock the layer. Okay, so in fact now we have a copy, what we can do is we can hide the original artwork, because we want this so that we can go back to it when we want, but we don't actually want to adjust it. So let's click on logo 1 so that we can manipulate this particular shape. So we're going to go to the black arrow and we want to go to the rotate tool. Okay, so when we click the rotate tool, the default origin is going to be in the middle of the shape, but we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to rotate the shape some space or some distance to the right. So we want to automate the process, we want to specify specific angles, and the way we can do that is by holding the Alt key down. So if I hold the Alt key down while we have rotate selected, you can see that there is a little line that appears below the crosshair that we have. So if I click now, we get a dialog box. And in that dialog box we can see an angle of rotation, and we can also see whether we want a preview or not. So for instance, if I change this angle to 120, and we can see how it rotates around that point. Now what we want to do in this instance is we want to make a repeat, so rather than rotating the object and transforming it, what we want to do is we want to copy it. So we're not going to press OK, we're going to press copy. Okay, so now you can see that it's kept the original but placed an additional copy here. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to repeat this operation exactly the same as we have before. So again, there's an automated way of doing this. So if we go to Object and we go Transform, we can select Transform again. You'll notice that on a Mac this is accompanied by the Command key and a D. Yeah. So if you wanted to use the Command key, the keyboard option, you could go Command D and it would do the same thing. Because it's the first time we're doing this on video, we're going to do it via the menu. So let's go Transform again, and you can see that we have an interesting shape already that we can call a logo or a graphic. Right, so let's move this to one side. So with the black arrow selected, I'm going to draw a box around it and click, hold and drag and move the shape. Okay, right, there we go. So there's our first iteration. Let's go back to original artwork. So we're going to click on that layer and we're going to select the eye. so we can see it again, and we are going to duplicate that layer again. So we're going to go duplicate original artwork, double click, and we'll call this logo 2. Okay, right, so we've finished with logo 1 for the time being, so we can hide that and we can lock the layer. We want to be able to work on logo 2, so we need to unlock the layer this time. So you can see we can select it. We're going to use the rotate tool again, but what I want to do this time is to show how you can get a different effect just by positioning the origin of rotation in a different location. So let's, for instance, place it here. So I need to select the Alt key again, click, okay, there we go, and I think this time we'll go for 60 degrees and we'll go copy, there we go. Now rather than go and use the menu and go object transform again, what we're going to do is we're going to use the keyboard command. So if we go Command D, that's transformed again. I can do it again, Command D, and again and again, and we have a very different type of shape from our first logo. There we go. So that's still using the same seed, it's still using the same basic shape. Now if we look at these shapes, we can see that they're still separate shapes. Okay, so Illustrator has some very useful tools for transforming shapes. So let's hide our original logo, logo 1, and I'm going to move this version of the logo over to the left hand side. Okay, now we've still got the original artwork visible, so we can hide that as well. I'm now going to make a copy of this particular logo, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to click and drag the logo or the shape that we have, and I'm also going to hold the Alt key down. If I hold the Alt key down, you can see that there are 2 arrows that appear. What that means is that we're going to get a copy of the shape. It's not just going to move it. If I hold the Shift key, it's also going to transform it so that, or constrain it so that it's at the same height. Okay, so we can let go, and we have these 2 shapes. Okay, so next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to show you the Pathfinder tool and the different ways that that can be used. So if we go Window and we go Pathfinder, alright, so if I drag a box over here and we go Unite, you'll see that this shape now is as one. Okay, I'm going to select all these shapes here, and this time I'm going to go Divide. So if I select Divide, what's going to happen is that it divides everything up a bit like a pastry cutter, and all these shapes are independent. Now if I select them, or one of them, they're all selected because we're using the black arrow which selects groups. If we use the white arrow with a plus, what will happen is that it'll select individual items within the group. So that means that we can delete them or modify them if we wish. So for instance, I can select shapes and delete them. And again, we have a very different graphic. Okay, so let's show again logo 1. We want to be able to move these, so let's just move this up here, and we'll move this one down here. Okay. Right, so we're still using the same shape, but we're getting very different results.